Hey everyone, welcome to EverydayFI, where we explore the lives of everyday people pursuing financial independence. I'm your host, Meghan Combs, and in this show, I want to show you that you don't need a multi-million dollar book deal or a famous podcast to reach financial independence early. By talking with real humans, I'll show you how to forge your own path to financial freedom the everyday way. Today, I'm back with my buddy and co-host Mitch with another Mitch and Meg's Money Musings episode. And today we're going to be talking about what we are willing to spend money on and what we're not willing to spend money on. And I feel like we are very different in that because we have very different cost structures to our lives. And so I'm very interested to see what Mitch's response is for that. But before we do that, hey Mitch, how you doing?
I'm good. We are loving life. It's finally summer in Minnesota, something we deeply seek and embrace. So, before we kick this thing off, I didn't ask you this in pre recording, and maybe the audience would like to hear it. We're 21 days in. How's your Red X month going?
Yes. So this episode will be coming out probably around September 1st. So my Red X month will be
Wow.
long in the past. Yeah, I know. And it's actually good because my Red X month is allowing me to kind of like build up a backlog, catch up on things. I have already 3 episodes that I've edited and published that are coming out in July. And I also hired an editor, Fritz, who will be listening to this and hear his name and he'll be like, yeah, thank you. So I basically am going to be probably talking about this on a Megan's Money Musings episode where I had to really think about things to cut from my life and things to keep in my life because I was taking on too much. And the podcast, unfortunately, is one of those things that I was like, okay, I'm not going to cut it, but I need to take a break and I need to like reevaluate what I'm willing to spend money on. And that's actually one of the things for me that I'm willing to spend money on that I found for myself was a podcast editor. And I tried it in the past by going through Fiverr. But the
Hmm.
problem with going through Fiverr is that you get independent contractors who are not like they do episode by episode. They're not like somebody who just you can come back to and give episodes to. And so that was actually more challenging. And then the cost structure was really expensive for
Hmm.
each episode. It was like more than $200 an episode sometimes. And I was like, this is a little much. And so what I did is I asked around with some of my podcast people that I know. So there's Casey Jeremiahson who works for the Retire Often podcast with Jillian Johnsrud. So I asked her, I asked Brad, and then I asked my friend Bill with Catching Up to Fi, like who they use for editors. Brad, I actually asked like several months ago, and he was like, my editor's pretty expensive. And I was like, okay, never mind. And then Casey told me Steve, who I think also does Paula Pants episodes.
I
And
think you're right.
then, yeah. And then Bill told me about Fritz, and Fritz is who I hired. And Fritz is great because he knows my system already. He's like, oh, yeah, I already used that program and that program and that program. And I know how to do this and I know how to do this. And I was like, hired, you're hired. Like, let's do it. And yeah, he's been great. And so if, I mentioned Fritz, that's why. But that was a lot. That was a lot to your question. So,
It's good. I mean, hitting the reset button's a great thing. As you know, I hit the reset button last year for 3 months, and so you could call it a Red X summer, and did my mini retirement sabbatical deal before heading back to work and doing what I'm doing today. And it's powerful, and there is something about just like catching up on everything, having that sense of control again, and being able to maintain instead of feel like you're just trying to stay afloat. So I think I read between the lines, and I can see your head nodding for anybody that's only listening that it sounds like that was nail hit on the head. So yeah, exciting. I know we kind of jumped the gun early since you were able to tie that in, but where do you want to go from here?
yeah. So I want to know the things that you are willing to spend money on. And when I say that, I mean, okay, so this is, say a few $100s. Where does that line for you start and end for what you're willing to spend that on and what you're not willing to spend that on? And then how do you kind of think through that? And one of the reasons why I want to talk about this, and I know this has been talked about before, but I think it's a really interesting mental exercise for us because I think it can really tune us into our values. And so I'm interested from your perspective what you're willing to pay money for.
Yeah. So I'll say this. It's probably important to remind the audience that you and I are at different phases of life, as is the audience, right? There'll be where I'm at, there'll be people further than me, there'll be people behind you, everything in between.
Yeah, and remind us where you are at too, just in case there's new listeners.
Yeah, I've reached financial independence and I can, at a bare minimum, cover all my expenses and live a pretty comfortable life. Not the ramen noodle five, but not quite the lifestyle fi. And so I'm just letting my portfolio compound. I am adding to it still this year, but it's interesting. Next year, I may not keep adding to it. We'll see. The spot where I'm at now is different, but what's interesting is I started changing the way I was willing to spend probably 3 to 4 years ago because we were well past half fi. And so I started seeing how much the portfolio was doing. And I'm like, man, if I just was willing to throw away $500 or $1,000 a month, the portfolio will still grow by X. And if I add this extra thousand in, it only grows by Y. And that's not that big of a gap. It doesn't add that much more working time. So why not spend a little more frivolously on some stuff that we're willing to spend on? So with that in place, one of the things I'll spend on that I think is very anti-fi is bougie dinners. I just had my 15-year wedding anniversary, and I think after tip, just my wife and I going out to dinner, it was like $355 or something for this one sick dinner. It was great, awesome restaurant.
But it's your anniversary. It's your anniversary.
Right. Yes, it was our anniversary, and we only do something even remotely close to that about every 3 months. So if you think about that, it's $100 a month, right? And a lot of people will go out to multiple meals a month. We literally don't go out to eat except for maybe every other month or every few months because we like to eat at home. So that's one example. I don't know if you want me to keep going or if you want me to pitch it to you.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to assume why you make the decision to do the bougie meals every 3 months and not do the like eating out all the time type of deal. I'd love to know the nuance there for you, why that's different. I mean, to me, it's obvious, but it might not be obvious to everybody. And like I said, I don't want to assume why.
Yeah, so we're health conscious people, so we eat real food. And I think it was a guy on Choose FI, one of the fitness guys that Brad talks to, mentioned like one of the easiest ways to look at if food is healthy or not is to look at it and be like, did you used to be alive? Like, do you look like you used to be alive? And if the answer is yes, chances are it's closer to healthy. And so we eat real food, right? We eat high quality meats, a lot of organic vegetables. We are pretty anti-grain, dairy, and sugar. So for anyone who can read between the lines, we mostly eat paleo. And so we just like to eat real food, and it's really hard to find that in restaurants without spending even more money to consume those types of things. So that's the first reason. Second thing, I'm married to a food scientist and a farm girl. So like my wife absolutely is a wizard in the kitchen and she loves it. It's part of her true identity and core of who she is, making great food all of the time. So like we eat as simple great things as breakfast tacos, and we eat as complex things as something you would see at a very high-end restaurant on like a Wednesday. That's just my everyday life. So that's pretty much why. It's my wife's love language, and I like to eat. So that's ultimately why, because we can't go anywhere and get what she can create without spending a minimum of $100 probably after tip for the couple of us to go out and enjoy anything. So that's the real reason why.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you're really lucky. I actually don't think I knew that about your wife, that she was a food scientist. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. And she wants to do like a cookie or a baking business or something, right? So those would probably be like the most awesome cookies or cupcakes or whatever she's making ever because she's like, I know exactly the right formula for this and I can make them healthy. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's truly ridiculous. Yeah, what about you? I've got something outside of like the fun space and something more in practical life space to share, but what about you? What's the first one that comes to mind for you?
Yeah. Okay. So if I did the same thing where it's like eating out or something fun or whatever, for me, it's things like my gym membership, of course, which I don't know if you would call that fun, but I call it fun because I love my gym. I love going to, it's a climbing gym. I don't climb. Chris climbs, but we go together. We know a lot of the people there. It's very down to earth folks too. And it's also the classes. I love them. And I am also willing to pay for extra classes. So there's something called the women's weightlifting class, and it's a small group class. And it's usually like $250 to $300 for like an 8 week program. I believe it's 8 weeks. And it's twice a week. And I'm like, that's a steal to me. That's a
Hmm.
steal to have like almost a one-on-one with a coach. And I've gotten so much stronger because of that. I actually, not to like toot my horn or anything, but I can bench press 100 pounds. And for me, as like a 5'3" woman, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah. And I can do it 3 times. It's not just like my one max rep, it's my 3 rep max. So anyway, I'm very about that. So I'm willing to pay for that kind of thing because, but I'm probably not willing to pay for something like a food meal delivery service. I actually tried one of those,
Hmm.
and I know it can help you. For me, it can help not overeat or whatever, but it was like $11 for a meal, and the meals were like this big and they tasted fine, but I was like, I could have made this. So that's something. And then massages. I love monthly
Ooh.
massages. I actually have some pretty gnarly mobility issues in my back and my hips, and so getting massages really helps me. I wish my ultimate bougie fi life would be getting them like once or twice a week, but I can't afford that now. Now it's once a month. So, and that's just because it makes me feel good. I think when I got my job that I have now, which was a quite huge pay bump, I was like, I'm going to reward myself with monthly massages. And it's so funny because the pay bump was like over $50,000, but the monthly massages are like $100 a month. So
Mm.
it doesn't even square with the amount that I got, but it still was kind of a reward. So yeah, that's what I'm willing to pay for.
That's awesome. And I'll say this, like, I know you said the gym is kind of fun, but I think it's dual purpose, right? I'm with you. I also have a healthy monthly spend on fitness. And I think there's a bare minimum threshold that we should have on fitness. And that may not require someone to go to a gym and hold a membership, but maybe they're regularly buying, upgrading, increasing the equipment that they hold at home to be able to increase their mobility, set themselves up for long term health, and to keep you out of the doctor's office, right? Like, the healthier and more fit we are, the less likely we are to have to go see the doctor, which is crazy expensive
Yep.
in this country in which you and I
Yes.
reside. So I'm with you. And congrats, by the way, on the 100 pounds bench press. I don't know what Liz can, we don't have a bench press here in the house, but she lifts, we have two 50-pound adjustable weight dumbbells. And I know she's getting to the point where those are close to maxed out on some of the things that she's doing. Not all, but some of them. So she is with you, also getting strong. It's interesting. You're right in that same frame. But we spend on fitness. I totaled it up. I had to go to Monarch. It's $420 a month. So I have a boutique fitness club that I belong to. It's a fitness boxing gym. So I go to these high intensity boxing classes. It's just me and the heavy bag in a class setting. So you're driven by a coach. You have, just like you kind of mentioned, you got your women's group. I'm sure you're buds with all of them. And if you don't show up on Tuesday, and then you show up on Thursday, they're going to go, where were you Tuesday? We missed you. And heck, they might even text you and say, we noticed you weren't here today. And so you get that camaraderie. So you're going to more likely show up. And it's just fun. Down to earth people, same thing in mind. You get to know the community. You know who goes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday mornings versus those who go on Saturday. And it's fun. Get to know people. So I have that boutique gym. My son, he's 8 going on 9. He works out at a American Ninja Warrior gym. If you've ever seen the TV, it's like obstacles and all that stuff. So he does that. That's like $85 a month. And then Liz splits out a personal training spend. So it's like she pays like 600 and some dollars a quarter. And this woman online puts together this program with her, works with her. I take her pictures once a week, and they chat about whatever and give her a new plan. And so that's where our spend is. And that doesn't include any new weights that she's buying that I don't even pay attention to. So I'm with you. It's for long-term health. It's worth it. And it's fun. And it's community. It's social. It's everything all in one. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. That's the one thing we overlap on it so far anyway.
Yeah, well, and it's funny as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, okay, so there's that line that I was talking about, like where you're willing to step over the line and where you're not. And for me, it's personal training where I won't step over the line. I have tried it before and found it lacking.
Hmm.
But I think this is where it's not about the money necessarily. It's about what you're getting for the money and if that fits who you are as a person. And this is where the values and the knowing yourself come into play when you're choosing what to spend money on, right? So for me, I need the group community aspect of fitness and having a personal trainer where it's just me and the trainer, which to me feels super awkward when they're just like watching me work out by myself. And I'm like, this is weird. And then it's usually like once a week or something even less than that. And then you're required to go and work out by yourself on other days and then come back to them. That never worked for me because I am not motivated enough to work out alone. I
Hmm.
need that group community to motivate me to come out because, and I will say, here's like just an example. So the women's weightlifting program happens 8 weeks, 3 times a year, and she takes the summer off. So we're off this summer. And when the program is going, I not only go to every single one unless I'm like traveling, I also go to the makeup ones, even if I don't need to. I'll go to those as well on top of everything else. And the makeup ones are sometimes if like a lot of people are out, she'll offer another one. Or if she was traveling, I'll still go in with the group and then we'll come to her makeup one. So, anyway, now that we're not doing it, I have not been to the gym and weightlifted except for one time. And it ended end of May. And it's June 21st right now. So I've only been to the gym once for weightlifting. So I've done other classes like HIIT classes and stuff like that. But for weightlifting, I've only done it once because I don't want to go and do it by myself.
But if you start, do you know the other girls in the class? Like, couldn't you just text them and call it like
Yeah,
girls get together and lift? Like
I do.
GGTAL, girls get together and lift.
Yeah. The thing is, like, so here's where it gets really nuanced for me. And again, like, this is just knowing yourself. It's more the coach who brings me out with the girls, or I'm going to call them women because they are women. It's the coach and the women together who bring me out because we have this person who's like telling us what to do and showing us what to do. And like, we're all cheering each other on because she's here coaching all of us. But without that coach, when it's just all of us, it kind of devolves into what are we going to do? And then we're just sitting there chatting and we're not actually working as hard as we normally do. And then we're also staying there longer than we normally do. So it's like less structured. And I really require that structure because I've done it before with those women. And most of the time, they can't make it. So it's like one or two of them. So it's just one or two of us working out. And then we just start to like chat. So yeah.
Well, I won't press it any further. It's cool to hear you try to. I mean, that's the first thing I would think is just like, can you keep the habit alive somehow? Even if it's like you have a workout routine that's similar that you print off online and you all agree, like, we know out of these 10, we know these 7, so let's do this. And we all get together and it's kind of the something's better than nothing mindset. But yeah, I think fitness, while I think it's fun. It's a great community. It's great for our bodies. I think it's a necessity. I mean, sure, you could go and run for free. You can buy a set of dumbbells and a handful of basic weight equipment items you need around the house for low hundreds, plural, of dollars, like maybe under $500 and own it forever and do something. It's a necessity and not a want, but the way that you're doing it and the way that I'm doing it, we've turned it into something that we value, and it's more than a necessity and it is a want. But I'll just segue us a different direction. Household services. So I seek first to not pay anybody to do anything for me. That's my natural default reaction. If an appliance breaks, I go take a picture of the serial number. I send it to my brother-in-law and I tell him, hey, my dishwasher stopped doing X. And within 20 to 40 minutes, he will text me back with a YouTube video containing the part that's probably broken and how to fix it. And I watch the video and I go, can Mitch do this? Yes or no, without major stress or risk to my health and well-being? And if the answer is yes, I just fix it myself if I can. And often it works. But other home services, like, can I go to Costco and buy like a 50-pound bag of Scott's Turf Builder to put in the fertilizer spreader and go spread it around my house? The answer is yes. However, my lawn has been a hot mess for like 3 years. And so 3 years ago, I did all the right things you're supposed to do to fix it. Then last year, I was gone. on a summer sabbatical, so nobody was caring for my lawn. My nephew was coming in, cutting the grass, paying him $30 a week. He did not do a lick more than he was supposed to do, and off he went with his $30, happy as can be. So then this year, I'm like, I'm home for spring into at least summer. I'm going to improve this thing. And I happened to get a letter in the mail from a local fertilizer and bug control company, whatever. And I opened it up and I looked and I'm like, wait a minute. For an intro fee, whatever, of like $400, you're going to show up to my house, put down probably better chemicals than I can buy on my own, do it for me, spread it properly, show up the right weeks of the month versus me trying to guess. And it was like break even. So I'm actually spending the same amount of money as if I went to the store and bought the stuff on my own. But some dude shows up in a truck and does it for me. And it's amazing. So now I know next year that fee is going to go up because I got the intro rates. Instead of 400, it's going to be 600. But I'm telling you right now, I am 100% paying them next year to do it for me because I can't do as good of a job as they've done. I've done my part complementing it to make my grass in my yard look better. And there's just no way that I won't pay again. Now, I could consider finding the next company to move on to, get their intro rate and get it for $400. And maybe I will. I don't know. But reality is that's a home service I'm willing to pay for. And even if it ends up costing me more money, I will keep paying for it. And the proof in the pudding is I have a different company that takes care of my pest control because I got sick and tired of going to Home Depot and buying like 9 different bottles that you hook up to a hose and spray all over the yard. And I don't even know if they're going to work. They show up, they do it. It does cost me more money, but man, I got fewer bugs. And whenever there are bugs that show up, I just text them and they come out for a warranty visit and poof, problem solved. They just do it again. No questions asked. And I have way less bugs on my property. So I don't know what you think about those or what household services you're willing to pay, or if you think I'm nuts, but those are the ones that I pay for that I don't think EverydayFI people typically pay for.
I think it's funny because I don't know where my line is for the household services because I don't have a lawn. I purposely got rid of all of my grass in favor of flower beds that all have native plants. And I kind of let it go a little wild because I don't want to have to go in and pull weeds all the time. That was a lot of work. And I guess I could have paid like a landscaper to do it, but I was like, no, I have a plan. I want it this way and I'm going to do it myself. And so I just took the time to do it. And I also learned a lot doing it. I also had a neighbor come over and he was like, can you come work for me to do this? Because he owns his own landscaping business. And I was like, no, I'm only going to do this for myself. And he loves my yard because the people who owned my house before me were apparently like the neighborhood not so nice people. A lot of my neighbors did not like them. They were very rude to them. Like the people who lived here were rude to my neighbors. Don't know why. But my neighbor was laughing. He's like, wow, he paid so much money for that grass and you just killed it all. I was like, sure did. But I did that to like make it less maintenance and more wild and, bees and all of that. So I didn't pay for anything there, but pest control. I hate roaches. I hate bugs in my house. The only bugs that I will tolerate in my house, and even then I won't really, are spiders. Like I'll probably just put them outside. I'm not going to kill them because they eat the bugs. I hate bugs, hate them. And so, yes, I get my house sprayed. And I noticed when I tried it myself, it did not work. It didn't work.
Mm-mm.
Like I still saw them everywhere. And then when the pest control people came, it started working. It's June 21st in North Carolina, almost 100 degrees and raining every afternoon. That's just how it works in the South. And that's when you see roaches come in. And it's the big ones, like the ones that everybody likes to call water bugs, but they're roaches, y'all. I'm sorry. They are roaches. They're not water bugs. Anyway, they come into the house because that's just what happens. I've never seen them like the last 2 years that I've had this company. Not once. Now, we also have 6 cats. So possibly they're just eating them. But no, like we see maybe one the entire season. And that I'm willing to pay for because I hate bugs so much. But then when it comes to like cleaning services, that's where I find it hard because they are quite expensive. And my house is so small that I'm like, we could just do this ourselves, And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very particular about how I like things cleaned. When my husband cleans stuff, I'm like, you missed this. So they would probably charge me more because I'd give them this big long list of stuff to do to make sure to do. And they'd be like, But yeah, so when it comes to house cleaning, I know that you have said that you pay for a house cleaner, but I bet your house is bigger than mine.
No, other way, no. I'm the inverse.
Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
refused to pay for it. Yeah, I thought you were all in on you wanted to get a housekeeper. And it's not okay, interesting. Yeah, so we've tried to pay for a housekeeper, and this was back when Liz was working full time, or maybe it was mostly full time. I don't know. She's had varying levels of work weeks. It's hard to keep track. But when she was working close to full time in a traditional sense, we brought in a housekeeper, I think twice. And what we realized, we already knew one part going in, which to me is the silliest part. You have to clean your house in order for the housekeeper to come, right? So, like, 90% of cleaning, in my opinion, is getting your clutter out of the way so that it's ready to be clean. And 10% is spraying something on it and then wiping it off properly. And to me, it's like, I think this is a head trash thing where we think, like, oh, I got to clean my house. And so I'm very anti-housekeeper. We had them come in, and that was part A, is we had to clean the house in order for them to come. The second item we realized is we keep our house clean. Like, we tidy up after ourselves all the time. Like, if there are coffee drips on the counter when we're done drinking our morning coffee, whoever the last one was wipes it up. What a concept. We had to get new appliances this week or last week because my dishwasher went bad. I tried to fix it and the part was bad. It was going to be like one of these things where it's like, well, for $400 I could have a fixed 12-year-old dishwasher, or for $2,800 I could get a new dishwasher, stove, and microwave that matches the fridge that I had to replace last year.
Okay, wait. I want to pause there. What made you want to go from just replacing the dishwasher to replacing everything, though?
They have to match 100%. Yeah, they got to match.
Why?
Yeah, I know. Because they got to match. So, and it actually really, I don't know, this is interesting. Sometimes you don't know who you are and who you are because of who you're around, right? And so this is important to my spouse, so therefore it's become important to me. I don't know if it would have become important to me on my own, but for 15 years we've had matching appliances in
What
our
does
life.
matching mean? Like the same brand or?
Same brand, stainless steel, same
Yeah.
line. Okay, so like
Oh.
last year our fridge went out, and I literally took a picture of my dishwasher, which is right next to my fridge, with like a bright orange piece of paper next to it, so I could tell, what does this stainless steel look like compared to this orange paper. Then we went to the store and said, this is what we have. What do you have that's stainless that looks like it? And we held up the paper next to it, even took pictures to compare them side by side, how the camera got them, so that we could get the right matching fridge that would be sneakily the same as the rest.
Y'all are so extra.
Oh,
I love it.
tell me about it. My house, I'll tell you this.
I love it.
My house, shy of the room I'm sitting in, looks like a magazine. Like, my wife is very, very good at design and like paint colors and the right couch and rug and all of it. Most of it we've done on the dime. She's figured out how to do it very reasonably, where it's like a $6 thing from Target, not a $68 thing from, I don't know, Macy's, right? So how did we get to this whole I got new appliances was because we're talking about cleaning. Okay, I won't pay for a housekeeper because we keep our house tidy. And just the other night, it's a brand new stove, but this is no different. The same thing happened with the old stove. I said to Liz, I said, it's after dinner. She's got it's a gas stove, and you lift off like the metal grates that the pans sit on, whatever this. She lifts them off every night, sprays it with light cooking spray, cleaning spray, whatever, wipes it all down, and puts them back. And I just simply said, you use this kitchen more than most people. Yet, after all is said and done, we're done cleaning up, we put all our dishes away, we spend the 6 minutes a day it takes to keep that stove looking like new. And I think so many people don't keep their house up, don't tidy up, they don't wipe the shower down a little bit after you use it a couple days a week to get the excess water from sitting on the top around the tub that builds up to soap scum and nasty, right? Like, when you do the little things along the way, there is no need for a housekeeper, because then it becomes right back to where I said, you have to get the house ready for the housekeeper to show up. And then as long as you keep your house tidy along the way, it doesn't take that long to actually clean it. So all that to be said, I have 2 full bathrooms and 1 half bath in my home. My house is 2,000 square feet. And I clean my bathrooms every week myself. I don't clean the showers every time because I keep them up. Everything comes out, especially in Liz's bathroom because she's got dry shampoo and that stuff gets everywhere. I take everything out, clean it all top to bottom, fully cleaned, looks like it's brand new. Again, every week. It takes me 45 minutes. And then she does her stuff that takes her 45 to an hour, which is the wood floors and vacuuming. And then we always keep the kitchen clean, so it really never needs a deep clean. And so we spend 2 hours a week. And to get a house cleaner here, I don't know what yours costs in your area, but it's $175 to $200 to get a house cleaner to show up. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't mind paying myself $100 an hour once a week. It makes no sense to me. So that's why I won't pay for one.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's so funny because I actually thought you guys had one, so that's hilarious that we had that discovery. And for me, I think it'll depend. I think when we have a newborn and we are in the throes of trying to figure out how to keep this little squalling thing alive, we might get a house cleaner just to unburden us from that part. But like you said, you have to pick up. And also with having animals, and we don't have dogs that you can just put out in the yard. Like we have cats and we have a lot of them, and we would have to put them all in their carriers for 4 hours while they clean, right? And so that's not really great because half of our cats will go into the carriers, no problem. Half of them are like, so I don't know. I think it'll just depend, like I said, on the newborn stuff. But yeah, for us, we also clean as we go. I mean, in the kitchen, I have white quartz countertops. Let me just tell you, don't ever do that. Horrible idea. Like with no veining, no nothing, because it literally shows every single speck of dirt and everything. But our counters are very clean because I'm just like wiping it all the time. So,
did you pick them? Did you pick them or did they come with the house? Okay, you did, because I know you've done it quite a bit to your house. Yeah.
Yeah. So my kitchen, I kept the cabinets but painted them because they were like that really dark cherry wood color. And so I painted them white and then bright blue on the bottom and then had white countertops put in. Because I liked the idea of the quartz countertops that have the little reflective stuff in it. So it's really, really cute because I'd seen that in other houses. And now I'm like, I kind of wish I would have gotten the granite that looks like granite. And so then you can't see all the stuff on the counter. Anyway, that's a divergence. But yeah, and then the stove, we have a flat top stove, just an electric one. So we just wipe it every night. You know, it's super easy. And we actually, this is just a super tangent. We have this soap spray that is technically for washing pans, but we use it to clean the counters because it cleans so much better than an everyday spray because it's soap, but it sprays. And so it cleans it really well. It's just like the Dawn spray stuff. Anyway, I think the biggest one that we don't do as often as we should is vacuuming because that actually takes quite a long time. That takes several hours for us because of all of the cat hair. And then I'm also very extra. Like I'm vacuuming the baseboards, I'm getting up the walls, like all of that stuff. So it does take a while to do that. But again, our house is only around 1,100 square feet. I think it's like 1,172. So it might be around 1,200. So it's really small and it's a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And we never clean the bathroom that's in the back because nobody ever uses it. That's like the emergency toilet in case anybody needs it, but it hardly ever gets cleaned. And our bathroom's so little. It's like a teeny tiny bathroom, so it takes no time. So yeah, we don't do. This is a long tangent about cleaning.
On
I'm
house
sorry.
cleaning?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what it would cost in your area to get your house cleaned per time?
Yeah, because I looked at it because I wanted to know the cost for when we have a child, because I do think for like the first 6 months, we're going to get a house cleaner. I just think it'll be easier. And so it's like the first time when they come in and they clean it all like top to bottom, like really deep so that it's at a standard that they want it to be. So when they come back, it's good, is like 300, 350. And then to come back, it was between 160 to 250, depending on the company. And so the smaller, more local companies were like 160, but they did say it's going to depend on how much cat hair is. I was like, so it might be more. So I would say probably between 160 and 200 for a month, once a month. Yeah.
Once a month. Yeah.
I mean, that could be $2,400 a year. Like when you think about it that way, like that seems like a lot, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you framed it that way. I framed it up on my own show when I was hosting my own podcast that sometimes it's best to not say it's just $2,400 because of where you're at in your FI journey and your income earning journey. But sometimes it's like $2,400, my Roth IRA is whatever, 8250 or something. I can max it out at this year, whatever the number is. I don't even know. And you're like, that's like a third of that. And it kind of makes you pause for a second.
That literally is what I was thinking. I was thinking of the HSA. I was like, for a single person, that's almost close to maxing out an HSA. I think it's a little more than half. And I'm like, you could put that in your HSA.
Yeah, so it's an interesting way to frame it. And I mentioned this to you, I think, last week when we were texting about getting prepped for this episode, that sometimes that is the way I like to frame these things. Like, I can sit here and I can waste mental energy and time thinking about a 50 or 100 or a $250 decision that's going to make my life way easier, and not take the moment to go, well, my net worth is X, and this is not going to influence that. I don't have to do this every day, every week, every month. It's one time. Just move past, pay the fee, and move on for whatever it is. But then there are times where it's like, if you're at a different phase in your journey and you're trying to go from, I'm just barely getting my 401k match, or I'm getting my 401k match, and for the first time I'm about to fill up my Roth, you do have to think about it that way. And the earlier you are in your journey, the more important it is to sacrifice and to start that grind. And that's why I'm a part of why I'm 39 and financially independent, is because I started that grind young and got after this when I was 22 years old, and really built up a strong nest egg of investments over that first, 10 years. But it was 6 to 8 years ago where my income shot up. And I was already, no matter what, going to become at least coast to half fi by where I am today. But in the last 5 to 6 years when my income shot up, I accelerated. And now I'm on the other side of it where I'm like, man, this is silly. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that because it doesn't move my needle that much. And it's a place of privilege to be, but it does help once in a while to think about that when you're further along on this journey. And there's a lot of people that are probably listening to this show that stink at the skill of spending. They're terrible at it. They can't figure out how to transition from save, and maybe even this badge of honor that they wear of being, I'm frugal and I don't spend money and whatever. I think I have figured out, honestly, to a fault, how to just throw money at situations when it makes sense. But then I stay grounded with stuff like the house cleaning. So I don't know if that helps at all. I do have a couple more examples, but I don't know if you think anything about anything I said there.
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that time is an asset that you can't get back, and money is fluid. And so it's like, why would you give up one for the other? And there was actually this hilarious example at work, and this is going to be such a corporate thing that's going to make everybody die inside, but I'm going to say it anyway. So we have a CPTO, which is Chief Product and Tech Officer. And he was basically trying to get the company to think about, to deliver things, we all need to work really hard, right? Blah, blah, blah. And he used this video from Simon Sinek, who I like him sometimes, but sometimes I don't quite jive with what he's saying. And he was talking about going on a run with a friend, and it was like a marathon thing, and people sponsored bagels or whatever. And so there was a line for the free bagels, and his friend was like, I'm not going to stand in that line. And he was like, but free bagels. And his friend was like, I'm not standing in the line. And he was like, free bagels. And then Simon Sinek is like, there's two ways to think about the world, and it's seeing the value or seeing the impediments or whatever. And I was like, or you go and buy a $5 bagel and don't have to wait in a line because time also is valuable. That's what I was thinking. I was like, no, there's a third way to look at this, that there's probably a bagel place around the corner that you can go get it for $5 and sit down and talk and not be out in the heat and standing in a line with all these sweaty people just for a free bagel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And our CPTO was like, yeah, we're going to be standing in the line for the free bagel. I don't want to. So anyway, that was my last comment on that. Yeah. So you have other examples, and sorry, I wanted to say I have kind of an example that's like a bigger one than just the menial, are we going to pay for a house cleaner, blah, blah, blah. But I want to know what your other examples are first, because this one is a little bit different and a little more psychological than I think the others are, because it's a bigger dollar amount. So, but you go first. I'm just going to tease the audience with that.
Mine are, it's funny, mine are also navigating to bigger and also completely not necessary, like not even remotely close to necessary. And it's travel and sporting events. So I do mess with travel hacking, but I also will pay. So As an example, it's now a culture in my house that we go to the Minnesota Vikings home opener. Thus, why I'm wearing the hat today. And the tickets are always, I mean, you can't really get to a game for under maybe $225 to $250 a seat. So I just bought our tickets to the Vikings home opener. And so it was around $525 or something for Liz and I to go. Then we will go again at least once, if not twice more at home. So we will spend easily $1,500 to $2,000 just on home games. Then we have basically put it into our post-nup, which we don't have, but we may as well have a post-nup that says once a year we will travel somewhere to watch the Minnesota Vikings play on the road. Last year we went twice because once wasn't enough. So we drove because we could drive to Green Bay and stay in a hotel free with travel rewards, but paid probably $250 to $300 a seat to go to a road game. And then we'd already pre-booked and planned. Where did we go last year? We went to Nashville and watched the Vikings play the Titans. And I probably hacked some of that, probably paid some cash, but like, you cannot get on an airplane and fly to another city and stay in a hotel and eat reasonable food, not the bougie food I talked about earlier, but reasonable food for less than $1,500, $1,800 for a long weekend plus game tickets. So like, we'll do that. And then we try and travel about 4 times a year. So one of those trips is go see the Vikings on the road. One of those trips is go somewhere hot, warm, and lay out and get a suntan because Minnesota winter sucks. One of those is go somewhere where we can hike, climb, or enjoy nature in some way, shape, or form. And the fourth one might be go see something you'd be proud as an adult to like go and say like, we went and saw whatever, right? And that's a new one. We've not done that yet, but it would be like going to Washington, D.C. or like we traveled to Europe to go and see Paris and the surrounding areas, right? Like the real adult vacations. We're not there yet, but we like to travel a ton and it's not cheap. I mean, I honestly think I spent probably either the equivalent of and or travel rewards in cash. I probably spent 25 grand on travel last year, excluding my sabbatical, which was a whole nother expense. And I'm doing it again this year. We are going to go to a road game that'll cost us 1,500 to $2,000. We are taking a 1-month camping road trip where I'm working half the time on PTO, half the time. I haven't even totaled it up, but I guarantee that's $6,000 to $8,000. Went to Hawaii. Hawaii was like 17 or 18 grand. I took my niece with. It would have been a little cheaper without her.
Whoa. 17 grand? Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot.
I hacked about half of it and I paid cash for the rest. My niece probably cost me about 2,000 of that, but we took her along so I could have a babysitter whenever I wanted one to be able to go and do whatever I wanted. And she's a delight. We just love having her around. I saw her yesterday. She's terrific. She's 16 and such a great kid. But yeah, it was like 17 grand to go to Hawaii. We were there for 12 days in an Airbnb. And that's with 40% off Southwest flights, by the way, because I bought them on the right day. So yeah, it was still like 17 grand. And that included all our food and everything. But yeah, we go wherever we feel like it. We're planning a trip to Harry Potter World this fall because we want to take Bennett while he's still young enough and it's like kind of magical still. So we're going to do that.
It's super fun. Yeah.
Have you been to the new one?
No.
I think, isn't there like a new one?
I went in like 2011, so a long time ago.
Okay.
But it was fun when I went. Yeah. It's great.
So yeah, I'm done. Those are my big, just like ridiculous ones. And again, I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't travel hack or forego continuing to add to the nest egg pile, which fortunately I'm able to do a little bit of both right now. So I don't know. Those are my big crazy ones. What do you think about those, or what's your big crazy one?
Yeah, I guess I have a little bit of envy for you because there's so many of those that I wouldn't like. $17,000. I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, there's no way. I don't even know where that money would come from. And like we were talking before the show started because we were talking about, okay, where our salaries are now in relation to each other. But it's not just about that. So first of all, Chris and I have dual incomes, and with the dual incomes, we're almost at 260. And I know that's a little more than you, but you're a single income household. And you started saving a lot earlier than me. So you are much further along than me. We are about a third to our FI number. Now that Bill Bengen has adjusted his like rate to be 5.5, we are actually closer, thank God. So, which is really nice. And I adjusted my Monarch to take out the real estate stuff. So we are only looking at liquid assets,
Hmm.
no cars, no homes, nothing like that. And just cash, just investments. And so that gets us a third of the way there, which is nice. But it still means that we have to be careful and tread the line a little bit more. And so one that's come up for me is I'm going to Egypt in October. And the trip is a group trip that on the podcast I interviewed Julie back in, I think, episodes like 47, around there. It's like between the episodes of 45 and 49. It's one of those. And I interviewed her. There's two parts. And she talked about that she does group travel with women. And Egypt was one of them. And I'm going with her. And it was not very expensive. It's like $2,000 for the whole trip. That includes an overnight train, that includes all hotels, including a single room for myself. It includes flights in Egypt, but it didn't include the flight to Egypt. So what I did is I got
Yeah.
miles for that. But the problem is because I had already gotten like the Chase Sapphire and the Capital One Venture, like I already got all those bonuses. I had to kind of play around with getting other bonuses. And so I landed on the Chase United with United miles because I saw a certain United flights go to Egypt. And I was like, okay, I can do miles. But that actually blew up in my face a little bit because United, they limit what you can use miles for. And I didn't know that until I started looking. And they don't let you look online before. It's very weird. You have to have the miles to look at what the miles cost is. And I don't know why. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I could be wrong about that. Online portal is really, really poor user experience. So anyway, I did get the flight, but it's two stops, and then one of the flights each way is over 9 hours, right? And by this time in my life, we are probably going to be pregnant, and I will be early pregnant. And so I had to wrestle with the idea of, do I need to spend the money to do like business class to where I can like lay down and actually sleep? I didn't, Mitch, because it's $3,000 each way, so 6,000 total. And I was like,
Whoa.
I know. And I already used all the miles, so there's no way to like upgrade or anything using miles. And so I instead just chose their most legroom seats near the bathroom, and am hoping that I can just get up and move. And I'm going to tell the staff of the plane, like, hey, I'm early pregnant. I'm also old. And so I want to make sure that I don't risk this pregnancy. And so that was about $400 for both flights. And so I just could not push myself past that threshold. And I don't know exactly where the number would have been where I would have paid for it. I think around, probably, if it was like 1,500 or less each way, I probably would have done it. But 3,000, I was like, God, that's a lot.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the pregnancy side of it, but I think I would land on the same side of you that that is too much. And I don't know enough about travel rewards to understand what it is about United, but it's funny. Basically, like I ran into the same issue with them. I thought they were going to be my airline of choice. They were the first two cards after Chase Sapphire Preferreds for my wife and I. They were the next two cards that we got, and they turned out to be just awful. There was nothing good. I ended up burning my miles. I think it was, when did I go? I went to Knoxville. It was when I went to the Vikings game last year. We burned those miles. I think we spent the equivalent of $1,100 in flights to get to Knoxville, Tennessee, because I'm just like, I'm done trying to use these for something good because everything sucks. And so I just burned them and let them go. Now, 3,000 is probably too much. What I would do if I were you is I would maybe set a reminder to check every other week and see what the upgrade would be. And at some point, just consider paying the cash, then go get a card that has a sign up bonus, and then use your everyday spend on it, right? And then when you get your sign up bonus, keep doing your everyday spend and just take cash back and just pay yourself back for what you spend today out of your savings or your regular monthly cash flow to pay for those laydown seats if it was reasonable.
So that's really interesting that you're saying that, because one thing with the pregnancy stuff is we are doing a donor egg. So we have stopped doing fertility treatments. They don't work anymore. Like my body's just not responding. So we're doing a donor. That is all out of pocket. We have to pay like a little over $18,000 upfront. And so I was going to put that on my Capital One card, my venture, because you get 2x miles for every dollar. And that's a freaking lot. So I was
Yeah.
gonna be like, okay, so if I do that and then I pay for maybe one of these seats and then do the like mile pay yourself back, I'm curious how much that would cover. It's hard to know though. Like I don't really know. I think each mile is like a cent. And so let's see, let's math that out for a second. So let's say it's $18,000. That's, 36,000 miles. Is that right? Did I do that math right?
I think that's right.
Yeah. And so that would give me what, $3,600 to pay myself back?
I'm
Yeah.
not great at math.
Yeah. And so that's one of the ways and part of the other way. So,
Either way, I think you can get there, right? Like I don't remember how many miles, air quotes, I wasted by cash backing myself, but part of my Hawaii trip, I paid it in cash. And then I just lived my life on my credit card like I normally do anyway. And I just took cash back up until I got whatever it was, $7,000 worth of cash back to have paid for the Airbnb that I booked. Or maybe I just booked the Airbnb and I already had the miles and I just comped myself back to break even. So I don't know if it's quite that many miles or points, but either way, the concept's there, and you could go math it out after the show and consider it. And
yeah.
it's the least sexy redemption you're ever going to do, except for the fact that you got yourself a lay down seat.
I know. I'm like, I think it'll be pretty sexy because I'll be like, yes, I'm never traveling like any other way now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
From Minnesota to Hawaii, we went through Phoenix. So we had a 2.5 hour flight, got a time to chill with a layover. And then the flight from Phoenix to Maui, I think was like 6.25 hours. We had regular seats. I'm just under 6'2", completely fine for that period of time. But I did stand up. I did stretch a lot. People probably thought I was weird. And it was fine. I don't know. I feel like it's one of these things where it's only 3 more hours. I think in our heads, something tells me every minute past about 6.5 hours probably compounds where you're like, this is the worst. I also think I was trained for it because I spent the whole summer driving a Ford Expedition with a camper in tow for anywhere from 4 to 8 hour drive days. Every 4 to 6 days, we'd move from campsite to campsite, state to state. And so maybe I'm better trained to sit in that chair than your everyday person. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I would
maybe.
keep looking at it if I were you.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea and I don't know if like, should I buy it now? Because you can do the pay yourself back for, I think, 3 months on Capital One. Or should I
Hmm.
wait until the miles are there? I'm not really sure. What I want to do is call the airline because I already upgraded my seats and see if I can get that cost towards this other one, So I'm not
Hmm.
out that
Yeah.
money. That would be interesting to see if they would do that. But so that's not actually the big one that I was talking about for me.
Oh.
So I'm leaving it till the very end. And actually, so my husband and I are planning on doing a full episode on this, but I want to talk about it a little bit now. So Chris and I both own homes. His home we were using as a rental, but he decided to sell it. And the problem is the minute we went to list it, the market in North Carolina, or at least Durham and Raleigh, it just tanked. It was like in the floor. That sucked. And we were a little bit disappointed by that. And it didn't affect us exactly, but it was knowledge that we had before we listed. So we listed his house. He did so much to it. He has solar panels, new HVAC system, updated kitchen and bathrooms. He has a stained deck and storage. Like he did so much to this house. He basically fixed almost everything that was wrong with it on his inspection report. Oh, he replaced the roof. So it's a nice house. And so we listed it and we got 3 offers. And one of the offers, though, the woman is an incredibly challenging person. Well, I'm just going to leave it at that. Like Chris and I will talk about the particulars later, but she is very challenging and not pleasant to work with. Doesn't want to use her own agent, wants to represent herself, has no idea what she's doing, asking for ridiculous concessions and like stuff like that. But her offer was 12,000 more than all the others. So we were like, is 12,000 worth dealing with this person for a month and a half? And we decided yes. And what sucked is she's also an investor, and we kind of wanted to sell it to somebody who was like just a person who was going to live in the
Hmm.
house. They just couldn't meet us. We tried. We went to them and we said, "Will you come up to this amount?" And they just wouldn't. And so we went with her, and I actually decided to bow out of the whole process because we have our houses separate after we got married. That was the only thing that we kept separate because we want to like combine and buy one day, but we just kept it separate. And so I was like, I'm going to bow out of the rest of this because it's giving me heart palpitations dealing with this woman. And I'm hearing from kind of the side, like he'll update me on it, but I'm not involved in the conversations. And I'm like, oh man. But that was something where we had to think, okay, this is going to be more effort than just a regular home sell where you're just kind of like negotiating a little bit here and there when the people are asking for reasonable things and you kind of come into the middle. No, she's like, I'm going to walk away if you don't give me $12,000 and like all this crap. And then she never actually does walk away. And so that was one where we decided, okay, we're going to deal with the fact that she is a challenging person because $12,000 is worth it to us. But it's like, I don't know where that line would have been. Like if it was only like, 3,000 more, we probably would have gone with somebody else. But then where's that line? And I don't know how we would have decided that together. But yeah, that's my big one. And like I said,
Yeah.
Chris and I are going to talk about that in detail on an episode in the future once it's all done and sold and stuff and we have all the details. But yeah, that's our big one.
Hey, $12,000. I would say it's probably worth it. That's 1.5 Roth IRAs, right? It's like you almost got yours for free this year. Would you do that for 45 days worth of annoyances? And then when you break it down and think, how many actual hours am I invested in engaging with this person? Plus, how much mental energy before and after those calls am I preparing for the stress and then decompressing from what was my hourly rate? I bet you it was a pretty high hourly rate. It's probably going to end up being worth it. I'll say this, I've gone through this as a landlord where a tenant will come to you and ask you for something. And sometimes it's truly absurd and you just say no. Other times it's high maintenance, but if I say no, my next 9 months with them as my tenant are going to be miserable. I'm not going to want to renew them. Then I'm going to have to get a new tenant, enter into the unknown, pay more money to get into a new tenant. Or I can say yes to this ridiculous request to me. It's going to cost me $200, $250, whatever it is, to just make this person go away, be happy, and probably pay their rent on time next month and every month thereafter. But you also have to fear the downstream effect. Are they going to keep asking because I caved once? So it's how you frame that. But sometimes that's how I think of it, is what's my mental energy and time worth? And if I concede here, what's it going to get me in the long run? And it's like that saying, tripping over dollars to get pennies or whatever, and it can pay off. So I don't know what the number is, but I will tell you this. I tried to buy multiple houses in 2020 when everyone was scared, and I'll never forget, and I'll never stop telling the story. There was this house, I was ready to buy it. We put in our full price offer. I had just refinanced 2 mortgages. At the time, people were scared of that, like, what if they can't get financing because of COVID and if they're not essential and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm your textbook person. I'll put down 10 grand in earnest money. I am going to get an inspection, but I'm really serious about this. I'm your perfect buyer. I missed out on several houses, but this one house, they said no to us. They took another offer, and I'm like, gosh, I wonder what the heck these people offered. Then they came back to us 2 weeks later, said deal fell through. And I said, look, my offer is my offer. If you want me, you're guaranteed to close. I can close in 13 days. No one else can close for you in 13 days. They said, oh, you got to come up to this or we're not going to go with you. And I'm like, I'm literally the answer to your problem, but I'm not coming up anymore. They chose somebody else. And I waited, and all this information is public, right? You can go search it later on. They didn't close for 85 days to get themselves $350 more. They had me pre-approved, willing to put up $10,000 in earnest money, owned a house that looked just like it, like 4 miles away, to be a great landlord, take this thing over for $350. So I know you would never do that, but there are people in the audience that might need to hear that you could, for $350, it might feel like it's going to change your week. But man, it changed their months because they didn't get to close for 85 days. They probably lost that money in mortgage payments. It's insane.
That's ridiculous. Like, what? No. So we wouldn't do that. And I think for us too, this is where when you do transactions like this, you want to be in the strongest position possible. And so what we told our agent, and we actually had 2 agents because the one that we normally work with, she was taking a leave of absence for health. And so she passed us to another one, but she was still like kind of involved because she is like me and like can't kind of let go to take a break. But anyway, so we kind of had two agents, which is good and bad, because the thing about real estate agents is I really like both of them, but they are not fiduciaries. Their job and how they get paid is you selling your house. So they're going to tell you whatever they think you need to hear to get your house sold, right? So what we told them though is we said, we don't need to sell this house. We're not going to sell it if we're not going to make X on it. And if we don't get offers for that, we'll take it off the market. We'll rent it again. And for Chris, the reason why he didn't want to rent it is he didn't want to self-manage. And I was like, we can just give it to a management company. No big deal. Like they take their 11%, whatever, who cares? Mm-hmm. And because he has a really low mortgage payment and a low mortgage rate, like that would have worked for us because he bought his house in 2021. So that put us on a very strong foundation to reject people like her and to basically come back to people when they offered below asking or at asking. And we said, we want this for this house and we think this is what it's worth. We only had one person who said, okay, I will pay this, but I want an appraisal addendum that says if it doesn't appraise, you have to come down, blah, blah. And we went back and forth with that. Again, I'll do details in another episode on that once it closes. And so it was really nice to have that strength behind us and to not feel pressure and be able to consider this without being desperate. Like there was no desperation, which was nice. And so I would say to anybody, if you're selling or even buying at a place of desperation, you're probably going to lose money or you're going to make a bad decision. Like that person who you were going to buy from. Like, what were they thinking? Like,
I have no idea. I think it's a great subject. I look forward to hearing that episode. And I know we've gone through our notes and you're probably going to say, Mitch, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this thing up? And I'm going to say, yes. I want to go back in time a bit to my Hawaii trip real fast. And you said you can't even wrap your head around $17,000 and you were talking about our incomes. Keep in mind this. You talked about Chris's mortgage and it reminded me of, sure, our incomes may end up being similar, but remember, I live in this house that I bought in 2013, and my mortgage payment is $1,150 a month. And I bet you yours is probably closer to $2,000 a month. And so that alone puts me almost $12,000 ahead in net, right? Like that almost paid for Hawaii.
Yeah. So, and just to give people context, because I'm totally open with numbers, our mortgage payment, which just went up a little bit, is $2,067 a month.
Yeah. Huge. So that was the only other thing I wanted to add. Like I have a head start because I am at financial independence. I am in a situation where my mortgage is nothing, right? Like, and I have a nice income. So all of that combined allows for this. Plus the travel hacking did pay for a lot of it. So that's really all I wanted to share. So
I
appreciate this. This was a lot of fun to go through.
Yeah, I try to do topics on this show that relate to our lives kind of in the moment, because this is what it is. We're like talking about our everyday lives and things that come up. And this was one that, you know, with the selling of the house, it was not just like, okay, so we chose this buyer based on this, but it was also the concept of where is that line? I hope a lot of people got something out of this where it can help them make decisions on where that line to pay the money or not pay the money and do it yourself is, and how it kind of relates to where you are in your FI journey. So yeah, thanks Mitch for being here with me, and I'll see you all next week for our next episode. Thanks for listening to the EverydayFI podcast. If you're loving this show, here are some things you can do. Number 1, subscribe in your favorite podcast player and share the show with your friends and family. You can also find us on YouTube now. Some of the videos actually have our faces. Number 2, please leave a review. I am always looking for ways to improve the show. Number 3, check out my website, EverydayFI.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and leave comments for myself and the guest. Number 4, if you're interested in sharing your own financial independence story and connecting with other community members, you can find a submission form at everyday-fi.com/podcast. And lastly, number 5, join my Patreon membership for only $5 a month at patreon.com/everydayfi podcast. This is a one-woman show, so every little bit of support really helps. See you next time as we continue to go down the path to financial freedom.